Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, Chapter 2. Christian arrives at interpreter's house. Walking for an hour or so, he came to a large house which he thought must be the home of the interpreter. After he had knocked several times, a voice from within asked, "Who's there?" Christian answered, "I am a pilgrim who was directed by a friend of the good man of this house to call here for instructions. I wish to speak with the master of the house." Soon the interpreter came and asked him what he would have. "Sir, my name is Christian. I am a man from the city of destruction, and I'm on my way to Mount Zion. I was told by the good man at the little gate that if I would call here, you would show me excellent things needful for my journey." "Yes, indeed. Come in. I will show you that which will be very profitable." He gave him a warm welcome, then directed his assistant to lead the way into the house. The assistant said, "Follow me." He led him into a private room where he told a servant to open a door. When the door was opened, Christian saw a picture of a very grave person whose eyes were looking toward heaven. He held the best of books in his hand. The expression of truth was upon his lips. The world was behind his back. He stood as if pleading with men, and a crown of gold hung over his head. The interpreter was silent. "What does this mean?" Christian asked. The interpreter answered and said, "This man is one of 1,000. He can say in the words of the apostle, 'Though you have 10,000 instructors in Christ, yet you have not many fathers. For in Christ Jesus I have begotten you through the gospel. And my little children, for whom I travail again in birth until Christ be formed in you.' And whereas you see him with his eyes lifted up to heaven, the best of books in his hand, and the law of truth written on his lips, it is to show that his work is to know and unfold dark things to sinners, and this is why he stands pleading with men. And whereas you see the world behind his back, and that a crown hangs over his head, that reveals to us that slighting and despising the things of the present because of the love he has for his master's service, he is sure to have glory for his reward in the world to come." "Now," said the interpreter, "I have showed you this picture first because it is the picture of the only one whom the Lord of the place where you are going has authorized to be your guide in all difficult places you may come to on your way. Therefore, take heed to what I have showed you, and remember what you have seen, lest you meet with some in your journey who pretend to lead you in the right way, but whose course leads down to death." Then he led him into a very large parlor that was full of dust. When they had observed it for a moment, the interpreter called for a man to sweep. When he began to sweep, the dust rose and filled the whole room so that Christian almost suffocated. Then the interpreter said to a maid who stood by, "Bring water and sprinkle the room," which she did. Then the dust settled, and the maid swept the room clean. Christian asked, "What does this signify?" Interpreter said, "This parlor is the heart of man that has never been sanctified and cleaned by the grace of God through the gospel. The dust is his original sin and corruption that have defiled the whole man. The man who began to sweep it first is the law. The maid who brought the water and finished the job is the gospel. The man, though working with all his might, could not clean the room. He only stirred up the dust and made it worse to live in. This shows you that the law, by its working, instead of cleansing the heart from sin, it only revives sin, causes sin to show its strength, and increase its activity in the soul. Though it discovers and forbids sin, it does not give the life and power to subdue it. So man cannot of himself give up his sin without first receiving divine life and help from above. This is why the maid came, sprinkled the room with water, and cleaned it with all ease, to show you that when the gospel of Christ comes to the heart With all of its sweet and gracious influence, new life comes in. Sin is subdued and vanquished, and the soul is made clean by simple faith in Christ. Consequently, the man is made fit for the habitation of the King of glory. Then the interpreter took Christian into a little room where two children were seated, each in his own chair. The name of the older child was Passion, and the name of the other Patience. Obviously, Passion was not at all content, while Patience was very quiet.